Hello, good people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Again, Richard here. I hope that you're having a good time. Once again, I find myself stuck, early morning traffic, Nairobi traffic. Actually, something just triggered my mind. I've just passed a school in somewhere called Lavington, Nairobi. It's called St. Austin, and I just remembered an experience I had, many years ago. So, a client of mine who happened to be involved in a lengthy, family, custody battle, had his children there, and this is like, I think 2018, it's like quite some time. So, in one of the things we were doing in preparation for a court case, we had agreed we were required to, we were given, visits, but also allowed to interact with the school and understand what's going on, especially whether or not the children, we're having their best interest served. But anyway, so we happened to, come for a visit that day, and it's an experience that happened. I found it very, mind blowing. Of course, again, disclaimer: I'm not promoting, any form of criminality or anything. But I think there's always a lesson to learn in every experience. So this time, we had taken a cab with a client from, I think a mall which was about 2-3 kilometers away from the school. So, and we had this cab, it's just taxi or special hire, was to bring us to the premises, wait for us to finish, our visit, then take us back to the office, right? So basically, part of the instructions was for the driver to wait until we are done. Now, as we approached the school, and because the school has a way, like it has a road, the way the school is set up, you drive through a public road. So the school is, I think, on either side of the road, if I'm not wrong. But you park in a different area, then you cross over the road. So they're like opposite, gates. So as we were trying to, I think when we came to approach the gate, I think we had about 2-3 minutes of inquiring where do we park, which is the right exit, which is the right. Now, in that short period of time, it happened that there were some gentlemen who initially we hadn't seen, that had been, following us and perhaps observing what was going on. Remember, this one was happening. There's no verbal contact. There's no. They didn't talk to any of us, the driver or anything. But these gentlemen were Nigerians, actually. Again, this is not to say anything about Nigerians or anything, but they happen to be, gentlemen around. So these guys had started so well in that short period of time. Our mission, that is, they could tell these are people who are coming to do a visit at the school. They probably don't really know the place very well. They're definitely in a cab. So they were in a very short period of time. So as we crossed now, as we once we finally knew where we were going to park and all that, so we had to leave the car behind and now just go across the road now to the other gate. Okay, do the zebra crossing to the other gate, like literally it's opposite each other, and this is principal of the same school. Now these guys had been observing us. I think they could have been parents, I don't know. They could have been relatives of, maybe they had a kid there, I don't know. But certainly they were coming from that school, the same school. So they were coming from the administration, I think. And they were actually now, I think, either going to get their cab or whatever it is to go back to where they're coming from. And I think for them it was it's like petty crimes, if you asked me, because for them what they had to achieve that day was a free ride back to their wherever they were going from the school. So they were able to study all that. So as we were crossing, the gentleman now also began crossing now, but coming towards us, like going to the parking, sort of. And one of them casually said hi in a way to my client, actually, in a way that felt like they know each other, but without allowing our client enough time to process or even try to have a conversation. Remember, the driver is across, so the guy acted like he was saying something to us, but without saying it in a very short period. Unknown to us, he was establishing some level of confidence, because he saw that driver. He knew that driver was actually watching. So he asked me to continue, do our thing, and the gentleman, they go straight to the driver. Obviously, remember us, we're now going to the school. And they actually tell the driver, our friend there, tells us you're waiting for him and all that. But, of course, this is what I learned after the fact. But meanwhile, she drop us off at this other place. As they finish, come back and pick them. Obviously, they're hitching a ride totally. Because for the driver, it felt like, okay, I've seen you guys sort of have a conversation. After all, I'm waiting for these guys until they're done. There's no harm. They might as well just, it's okay if that's what the boss is saying, that's fine. So, and that's all this happening under 5 minutes. So unfortunately for them, when we got to the administration block, we found out that the kids had not come to school that day. And we were not aware, because I think the mother hadn't informed my client. So we didn't have a reason to stay. So in the end, we had to just leave. So we turn, cross over, but in the middle of the crossing, we notice our cab from a distance, leaving. So at that time, I don't know, but I think the client actually called the driver. He asked him, what is happening? Why are you leaving? The driver was confused, because to him, these are your people. The client said, no, you come back. So those guys were so swift, they didn't argue anything, because they had gone 200 and so meters. We could still see them, the car, so they disembarked. They told the driver whatever they told him. I think they said it's okay. I think they are finished very fast. There's a miscommunication, go. Of course, when we met the driver again, he said, when we told him we have no clue, we don't even know those guys and all that. But that experience really I found it very interesting, and I think that for me, more than anything, I sort of enjoyed the way these guys were doing their craft. I actually even told my client, I wish they would apply this, to doing something that is positive, that would help anyone, that would, if they were businessmen, this would be, they seem to have a very sharp mind. I wish they could apply this knowledge, to making a world a better place. Those were actually my exact words. But it also got me thinking, like in all those actions, later on, I'm like, okay, so these guys, number one, Forget about that they were doing some petty theft and all that. But if you process it well, it's like, and you apply it to life, So they had their mission, which is, in this case, I believe, to get a free ride, okay, to wherever they were going, right? So that is if it's business, that's a goal, okay. Now you have to have a goal, when you're doing anything in work or stuff like that. Now, once they knew once you establish your mission, which these guys did, now the next best thing would be, okay, you have to identify practically, okay, what do you need, what resources do you need to achieve your mission. In this case, they needed a ride, they needed a car, okay, whether they are paying it or otherwise. So options will be, you either hire one, you buy one, or you ask for a ride. So in their case, it was for them to hitch a ride without asking for one, but in the best way they could. So that now you identify your resource and what you need to achieve your goal. But then before that, you see, that also, I think that it took them a bit of research. In this case, it was the time they spent assessing the situation. Okay. Only in the identifying what you need to achieve your goal, you have to research about it. About all those possibilities. You have to research what is the best available resource at the least cost possible, because again, you want to be able to have a return that is less costly. So in this case, again, they are able to process in seconds or in minutes. They identified us as a target, in this case as the car that would get them to point B. They were able to analyze very quickly, who we were, what our possible mission was, whether or not we would be possible. We could help them achieve their goal. I think, in this case, in this short period of time, and once you do your research, then now you take action. In this case, their action was twofold. They took the action initially. The first action we did was validate the driver, because the driver was the key, was holding the keys to their resource. So now, by them talking to my client and saying hi to me in that very short period of time, they were giving that confirmation to the driver that in fact this is our people and these are our guys and all is good. That was the first action they took. The second action was now going to the driver and in fact executing, in the sense that they actually told the driver what it is, where they were going, and where they were able to merge the story very well. And actually they succeeded partially. And I imagine if we had probably met, if the kids were in school and all that, certainly we would have stayed probably much longer. Then they would have had their mission as planned, and they would have, gone ahead to do whatever it is they wanted to do, get to where they wanted to get. So that's the other aspect. So I said initially, have a goal, identify your resource, take action. Okay. So and these guys did exactly that. So for me, the more I reflected about that experience, I really it's like, okay, this is an interesting way to do business. And again, I am not promoting their actions in any way, form or shape, you know, but I'm simply appreciating that experience and trying to draw lessons from it. And I think from that point on, of course, in this case, don't forget they failed eventually, you know, but they failed fast, if you asked me, because in under 2 minutes we were back. So that means that they couldn't proceed or continue with you know, their agenda. That means they lost the resource they had thought they would get. However, if you come to think of it, they didn't have a heavy cost on them, you know, in a sense that even when they lost, it was, when it comes to time, money value, okay, it cost them about 5-10 minutes, which would have been the almost the exact same amount they would have, you know, spent were they to look for or wait for a cab, or, you know, order a cab or something like that. So it was more or less the same, you know, in this particular case, or even shorter. In fact, they could have probably spent more time getting ordering an Uber or any ride for this matter. And but this particular experiment didn't cost them a shilling. They were within their waiting time. Were they to decide to, you know, do the right thing? Also, they didn't spend airtime or anything. They didn't spend an actual money resource out there to try and execute. So it was, I think, a typical example of fail fast, you know, because you don't want to invest money and time that in something that it could fail if you can actually get it for in a short period of time, which basically means that if you know your time spent, I think, and identify the costing, you might actually be able to save time. Because when you fail fast, as they usually say, that simply means that you've not incurred the cost in terms of time and money, or even deploying a resource like a staff, or, you know, and other resources for that matter. So when it comes down to time money value, they nailed it, because they didn't lose any of that. They were within their time, and they didn't lose any money. So I think it's also the other lesson that I think came out of that for me was the fact that, in fact, you have to identify those resources very, very fast. Very, very fast. Okay. So that when you do, okay, you will be able to find yourself saving money and time. So again, I think what is fast is relative. It's a variable that actually is informed by so many factors. Again, it also depends on what it is that you're trying to execute, and also then how difficult that task could be. Okay, so depending on the difficulty of the task, it will determine a lot in you either being able to execute it fast, failing fast. But that's again, like I said, that variable is relative. It depends on so many factors and the nature of the task you're trying to execute. But that is a very crucial aspect, because you don't want to spend 10 years, you know, of your time and money in a venture that, you know, probably will not succeed, or that could have been done differently from the approach you're taking. But again, it also depends on the nature of the venture. If it's something that you might find 10 years is equivalent of 1 month in a certain aspect, if you compare the different business, you know, ideas or stuff like that. So that's really, I think that that was an important lesson for me, if you asked me. And to be honest, I have to give these guys credit. They were very swift. My God, they were so swift. They really knew what they were doing. I only wished, and I still wish that, I hope that criminals can actually switch. See that in fact the amount of energy and planning they put into executing, because they're usually criminals, they're the lazy part of the society who want it as fast as possible for as little cost as possible, and they want the whole lot. But I only wish that they could use that to do the right thing. We would be in a very fantastic world. We would achieve so many goals. We would be so successful, if you ask me. But nonetheless, I grabbed some good lessons from that, and I think that again it goes back to my approach, I think, of looking at a positivity in every negativity, a possibility in every impossibility, so that now every experience for me is worth a while. So yeah, I hope that there's something for you from that otherwise not very pleasurable experience that I had, and maybe you've had your own experiences that are similar or different, but give you an idea of sometimes life and what we can make out of situations such as those ones. And perhaps maybe you'll try, and as much as you can, look at things differently. Every experience is a chance to learn, unlearn, make mistakes, and grow. I hope that you find my experience relatable or interesting to you, and you pick one thing or two. Yeah, traffic has been crazy, but I think I'm getting close to my destination. Now I need to hit these pedals. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll catch you in the next one. Kwaheri, goodbye. Mungu abariki. God bless you. Mungu abariki Africa. God bless Africa. Richard out.